Kryton Live on Fuse Logic TV. I'm your host, Michael Kryton, and I have a really packed show today. I'm looking forward to it. It's all about music. My guest is the executive mom of her family, Contessa Abbott, who also is the executive producer of On Beat. And On Beat is putting on a substantial concert called Completing the Circle. It's a community benefit featuring 4 incredible artists that will be performing on behalf of several charities, and it's happening at the Northern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium on September the 16th, and that's what we're going to talk about. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Michael.
Well, let's tell me about the concert. Like, first of all, where did the idea come from for you for Completing the Circle? Because that's, by the way, featuring Sawyer Brown, Anna Beaumont, who we're going to be talking to. I'm excited about that. She's in the studio now, and we're going to be talking about her music. She will be appearing as well. Crystal DeSantos and Red Nation. So it's quite a lineup. So how did it come about?
Well, it came about, On Beat does interviews with musicians, and a lot of those tend to be local musicians. We go around and showcase them doing pretty much everything and anything, recording, just what they're doing in their life and stuff. And everybody on the On Beat team is pretty humanitarian. For myself, I actually started in social work. Did that for about 6 years or so, and always kind of found myself in the fundraising and the boards and different things like that. So we took some of those skills from each one of our members, and we really wanted to do something that we could give back to the community.
Right.
And for me, that was based on the fact that I'm an executive mother, so I've been a single mother for about 14 years now, and a lot of the time to get through university, to work in my career, and to take care of my children, I had to utilize resources within the community. So I've always had a really great time being involved with music, and we decided to find a way to combine all of that together, give back to the community, showcase music and showcase talent, and really just incorporate it all together, and we came up with Completing the Circle.
Well, this is quite a monumental task. I mean, the Northern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium is a major venue in the city, so you're certainly coming out of the gate with something very ambitious. How did you, in terms of putting the artists together now, by the way, it's on September 16th. You go to onbeat.ca as well as to the various artists' websites. It's being featured there. It's also on Anna Beaumont's website, annabeaumont.com. You can see the poster there. As a matter of fact, you see it on our screen right now. Lovely poster. You've had quite a few people that's participated. So who are some of the people that have who have joined sort of forces with you to bring this about? Because there's a few companies as well that have stepped up to the plate to assist you with the production.
Oh, wow. There's been quite a few in terms of sponsorships and people that support us behind the scenes and everything else like that. We've got Axe Music, Shalanko.
That would be Axe Productions.
Or Axe Productions.
They're a little sensitive about that, but that's okay.
And we have AdWorks, Wow Factor. Right. We've got CBC, CTV, and just a whole wide range of companies within all of those.
Now, how did you go about in terms of deciding which artists you wanted to bring into this? What was the process there? Because it's a very diverse. It's going to be a great concert because we're covering a range of styles. Certainly the names speak for themselves. And how did you go about deciding who you would select and approach? Obviously, part of it, I imagine, you may have had other people you may have approached, but ultimately you've ended up with quite a list. So tell me a little bit about the process of engaging the artists.
Well, some of the artists came from On Beat and who we wanted to interview and have on our show and stuff like that. Actually, for the process of artists, it was every single one of the artists that we approached first agreed to do it. So I think,
that always is helpful.
yeah, it was really helpful. It was actually, and it was great because all of the artists themselves, they saw the cause, they saw the charities, which is Butterfly Transitions, Human Youth Society, the Christmas Bureau, and the Food Bank, all are going to benefit from this benefit. And they just right off the hop said, "Okay, we'll do it," and that was the easy part, I think.
Which usually, or sometimes, can be the most difficult part. I mean, ultimately, matter of fact, we can look at the website, Evan. This is the OnBeat website that we'll be taking a look at, which has all of the information. It's onbeat.ca. And what I like about the way you've designed the website here is that, for example, let's look at iHuman, the Human Youth Society. You click on it, and you get information. Of course, the print is rather small, but then you can immediately click down here in the lower left and go to their particular website, which makes that very, very convenient. And it opens up in its own window, which is great. So let's go back to OnBeat. And then, of course, there's the artists. And, you know, as no bias here, we're going to just pick Anna Beaumont. I wonder why we're doing that. And who has a new CD coming out the doorway. And we're going to take a look at that. I'm really excited. And then, of course, you can just click on here, and you would end up with something I already have, which is Anna Beaumont's website here. It's very, very, very well designed. And have you been getting a lot of activity on your website? Do you know?
Oh, tons of. I think the last time we looked at it, it was about 3,000 hits for about a 3 or 4 day radius. So,
that's great.
That was awesome. Something that we came up with, and the web designer himself was just very awesome and donated a lot of his time in order to do that. And whoa, now I'm like 3,000 people makes me nervous.
Yeah, it doesn't make Anna Beaumont nervous, though. It's more 3 or 4 people in a room asking her questions gets her a little terrified. But performing in front of several thousand people.
Let's
talk a little bit about the organizations that this event is designed for, and maybe walk us through a little bit of how you came to pick these. We have the Christmas Bureau of Edmonton. We have the Food Bank, of course, iHuman, and Butterfly Transitions. What was the process in deciding that these were the charities that you wanted to focus on?
Well, one of my I guess it's a scary thought, but a stat that we are using for our charities and the benefit, and it's in all of our packages. It's in 2000 from the Stats Canada report, Urban Poverty in Canada, 34,800 families lived in poverty at that point, and they expected throughout the years for the poverty rates to rise, and on top of that, 25% of youth 15 years or younger and older have addictions issues. So we looked at those two issues and decided those were the two that we wanted to target. Those are the two issues that we felt most passionate about and wanting to help and stuff. And with that, we came about just different community organizations that have been really doing a lot in the way of helping those. So the Christmas Bureau, not so much, providing housing and stuff like that, but for mothers and children and families, they help during the Christmas season with that poverty rate, more to relieve some of the stressors from the Christmas season, to help them with the food, to connect them with some toys for the Santa's Anonymous, and really just give children and families an opportunity to have something that they may not be able to during that season. The Food Bank, of course, they're probably one of the biggest sources of support in nutrition for a lot of those families that are living in poverty. I think it's 15,000 or more families they help per month.
And it's a constant struggle. I mean, it's never something to be taken for granted, because I know that the food bank is constantly on top of it. But what's great is they reach out so much to the community. My friends at Axe Productions, when we have a Christmas event that we do and invite a lot of people, automatically we have the food bank on tap. And it's amazing the awareness and how much food you get from people at these events. But it's a constant it's a constant battle because it's never taken for granted. There's such a huge need for food, which
Yeah, and
is a
there's
scary
a
thought that it
real
here in
huge
Edmonton,
need
that's a
for
fact.
the tradition, like the neutral or nutrients and the perishables. Actually, they're working on more and more now, so that there's fresh vegetables, there's yogurts, there's just something from every food group for the families, and that is, it's amazing how much they've grown since they've moved into their new warehouse.
Now, I have to express ignorance here. I knew nothing about iHuman. They have a website, ihuman.org, and I was amazed. I had a chance to meet the director and talk a little bit about what they're doing. And I didn't even know, to be honest with you, that they existed. Now, maybe I'm one of the few who doesn't. I don't know. But again, this is a great opportunity with what you're doing to promote and raise awareness for maybe organizations that are not as top of mind. So tell me about iHuman.
iHuman is actually fairly new. They started in 2002, so it may be why a lot of people haven't heard about them yet. But I bet you, if you take a moment to ask any of the youth that are living on the streets or in group homes, they would be able to tell you what iHuman is. And iHuman is a very great place for youth. They deal with substance abuse, they deal with homelessness, they deal with group home issues and child welfare issues all around. And they do it in such an amazing way because they utilize art therapy in everything that they do with the youth. So they teach the youth how to sing, they teach them how to produce CDs, they teach them how to perform, they teach them how to do art, they teach them how to design clothing and just get themselves out there and give them something very positive to do in their very unpositive and hectic, chaotic life. So
Where are they getting their support? Do you know? I mean, because ultimately, as a new organization, it must be quite a struggle. Is it just generally from the community? Because as I say, I'm not that aware that they're out there, but obviously they're working hard to do things. So, do they have government support or?
They have some government support. They have some contracts that they work with through Children's Services, so they get some support from there. There's a few churches that support them and stuff, and really right now they're promoting themselves just as much as anybody else to get out there and to build their supports. There's some lawyers and doctors on board that have always supported the art therapy and some of their initiatives that they I guess they work with are things like YRAP and peer circles. And those are really just taking the youth and making them accountable for the things that they do and having other youth oversee that. So
let me take a look at the website. It's ihuman.org. And if you're not familiar with the organization, I was very impressed when I met them. And they are doing some wonderful things for young people. And as it's described, a local nonprofit organization, iHuman provides youth arts programming to high-risk teens aged 12 to 24 in Edmonton. I guess you could be a teen at 24 in your mind, but that's amazing. That's quite a scope of people. Now here's another one. I have to express a certain amount of ignorance. Butterfly Transitions and Healing Society, BTAHS. Now tell me about them.
Butterfly Transitions is also, I think, just still baby. They've only been incorporated for about 2.5 years now. And it was started by a group of social work students from the 2008 graduating class. They had all focuses in Aboriginal and holistic and harm reduction kind of theories and practices in their schooling. So they take a lot of those and combine them into an agency that tries to fill some of the gaps that are out there. There's the food bank, not to pick on them or anything, but they have their different stations in different churches and communities and stuff like that where families can go. But if you have a family of 4 people that you need to bus to the food bank to pick up your food, right, and then you need to bus them back home, that's almost a $20 bus ride for those 4 people at almost $3 each now on the bus. So that's one of the things that they'll do. They'll help families get it to those different resources within the community and help them to alleviate some of those extra costs to get to those. they also do healing circles and talking circles with families that have child welfare involvement or substance use involvement, kind of anything, any kind of family crisis. And a healing circle and a talking circle is, I guess, developing a core support system around yourself. And it would be picking those people that are wise and supportive and can help you. And they go around and they'll deal with their different crises in that setting, being able to talk about it, being able to release some of the emotion and dealing with it in a really healthy, constructive way.
Well, those are the four organizations we're talking to. Contessa Abbott is the executive producer of Completing the Circle. She is with On Beat. And now I guess it'd be a good time. It's September 16th, by the way, is the show at the Northern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium. And we're going to talk about the artist now, and eventually we will be talking in person with Anna Beaumont, which I'm very excited about. Let's talk about the artist. What was it like dealing with Sawyer Brown and getting him into the loop on this one?
Well, first it was really hard for me to think of Sawyer Brown as 5 people instead of 1. A lot of people, and we have actually had some people that we're working with ask who Sawyer Brown is and where they are when we send them the list of the actual band member names. Mm-hmm. So all the band members, there's about 5 of them, and you have a list of names, and none of them say Sawyer Brown. So, where's Sawyer Brown? Well, these are Sawyer Brown. Yeah. It's kind of, even myself, I talk about Sawyer Brown as one person sometimes and have to correct myself. Mm-hmm. But these guys they're wonderful. They're really down to earth. They're really open to giving back to the community and to doing things with other people. Very supportive in different things that they do with the larger community, not only on beats, but.
So we're going to take a listen to some Sawyer Brown. I thought I'd play some music on the show because I love music. I also play, and I don't sing quite as well as any of them, but I can fake it. What would you pick for us to listen to from Sawyer Brown?
We're going to be listening to... Oh, Evan.
What are we listening to, Evan?
What are we listening to, Evan?
Well, you know what? If you're a Sawyer Brown fan, I'll recognize it right away.
I think it's 6 Days.
6 Days, all right. Let's take a listen to Sawyer Brown. Let's take a listen to Sawyer Brown. We'll be back with more on Completing the Circle happening at the Northern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium, September 16th. This is Sawyer Brown.
Well, I pulled out of Pittsburgh, rolling down the eastern seaboard. I've got my diesel wound up, and she's running like never before.
That was a clip from 6 Days on the Road with Sawyer Brown, who's headlining at the Northern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium. The concert is Completing the Circle and is going to be benefiting 4 charities, the Christmas Bureau, the Food Bank, iHuman, and Butterfly Transitions. I've already got it memorized.
Nice.
Well, I've been around. I was at the press conference that you had, or I guess if I update myself, the media conference. And it was really great. And Anna Beaumont was there, and she sang a cappella, which I thought was just incredible. And
which I have to apologize for because I did kind of put her on the spot at that moment.
She's a pro, and and it was lovely actually, especially with the residents in the food bank. And actually, it was quite an amazing moment because everybody was just spellbound, and it sort of set the tone for things. Let's talk about Crystal DeSantos. She's going to be playing along with us, and how was it to deal with her organization?
Crystal DeSantos is just wonderful. She's going to be a leader for all of the new generation coming up. Mm-hmm. Her voice is sultry and just gorgeous, and her head is really in giving to the community and doing good things for the community and being a role model for doing those types of things.
This is Crystal DeSantos. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Like I say, you've got quite a lot of diversity. Speaking of diversity, Red Nation, I mean, they won the Aboriginal People's Choice Awards during the 2006-7. They have been making a lot of noise. They're getting very popular, and I know I'm going to be seeing them actually twice now in September because there's going to be that, and then they're at the Aboriginal or Alberta Aboriginal Youth Achievement Awards as well. They're going to be performing, and I'm going to be I'm producing that show actually, so it's going to be really interesting to see them again. So I can't wait to see them both times. Long-time connection that you've had with those guys? Or?
Well, kind of in and out. Not really a bonded connection, I would say, but it's growing. It's a very growing connection, and the guys are wonderful. And yeah, they are. They've been making noise for over 10 years now in the music scene. Just recently, they are now on the top 40 charts and playing music on those different airways, and I think they're nominated, or at least in the voting rounds, again for the Alberta People Choice Awards for another 5 nominations this year for their new CD, Grown Folk Music. So it's an exciting time for them, and it's exciting to be working with them.
Oh, I mean, I like the diversity of the program. It's going to draw a lot of different kind of people, which I think is great, and the fact that it's benefiting 4 very different organizations, I think makes it all the more worthwhile. Well, I'm going to ramp up here to kick you out because I'm going to let someone just as beautiful take your chair in the second half of our show. I want to thank you for joining me, Contessa. Contessa Abbott is the executive producer of Completing the Circle, which is coming up at the Northern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium on September 16th. Tickets at Ticketmaster, yes?
Yes, at Ticketmaster.
And probably from anybody that Contessa knows. I think we all have tickets. So you'll be doing the world a lot of good by purchasing a ticket. And, of course, what's in store is an amazing concert that features a very diverse group of performers and artists who are very celebrated, and absolutely is going to be very worthwhile. To lead into Anna, I thought we'd play a little music was the idea. I think Anna Beaumont, who has a new CD coming out, or is out now, called The Doorway, and an incredibly accomplished artist, singer, songwriter, very celebrated, and our paths have sort of crossed in the past through mutual people in the industry, but I'm really pleased to be able to run into her under these circumstances as well. And before we have a chance to talk with her, I want to thank you once again, Contessa, for joining me here.
Thank you for having us,
Kryton Live on Fuse Logic TV, and all the best. And I'll continue to do what I can to support the project, of course. Anna Beaumont's going to be joining me in just a couple of minutes. Let's take a listen to Drops of Sun. I'm on your website here, Anna, and I want to welcome you to the show.
Nice to be here.
And
Thank
the
you.
Doorway. Tell me about the Doorway.
Well, as you can see on here, there's a couple of names, and it's featuring the poetry of Rumi and Hafez. So, who were these guys? Yes. So Rumi was a Sufi mystical poet from the 13th century, and he's the guy responsible for the whirling dervishes. So, and he's the most read poet in North America as of now. He's very, very famous. 800-year-old dead guy. And he inspires me greatly. He's a very, very wise man. And his words still hold up today. And Hafez is a century after Rumi. And he's another Sufi mystical love poet. So, and so what I did was I took their poetry and I adapted it and rewrote and put it to my own music. And it's quite long, and it's very wise.
Well, you seem to connect with this sort of thing. You opened up for Deepak Chopra when he was in Edmonton.
Yeah, I've done that a couple of times.
And that is your world. I mean, you're in a very holistic arena of things. There's other things that you do besides music as well. You do some workshops. Tell me a little bit about that work that you do as well.
Well, this is something I'm very, very passionate about, and that is women's voices. Voices, period, but supporting women in finding their voice again. And so the work that I do, I call it the voice connection, and it's about reconnecting back to self. And using the voice in ways of doing that, which is really efficient. It's very, very helpful for health, for connecting to self. And I always say to the ability that I'm able to connect with myself is to the ability that I'm able to connect with anybody. I can't leave myself out of the picture, and women do. Women leave themselves out of the picture. And so for whatever reason, I've always attracted a lot of women to me, and so these workshops are very, very great, and I teach them in Alberta and BC, and so it's very, very exciting work.
So your focus is on women. What about men?
There are some men coming up in these new workshops that I'm doing, and I'm always inviting men into it. It just so happens that mainly it's women, but
Are the men more reluctant to engage initially?
Yes. But the ones that, if they're going to come to my workshop, they're already open to a certain degree. And I think that we can all agree that singing terrifies most people. And that I think it's interesting when they say that the number one fear is public speaking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And but I think it's singing. I think that whenever I say that to people, they say, "Oh no, it's got to be singing." So I think that it's about making singing and using one's expression and opening to the truth of who we are, and this CD really speaks to that. So it's a nice mixture, and I have used my singers and all the people in my workshops on stage with me, and have used the poetry and in a mantra kind of way, using a choir of these beautiful singers behind me. So it's a lovely mix.
Talking with Anna Beaumont, a very celebrated singer-songwriter, and the CD is called The Doorway and is available through your website, annabeaumont.com, as well as
Indiepool.
Indiepool.com. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk now about the show Completing the Circle. I assume Contessa had approached you, or someone had approached you, and you were in like Flint when you heard about it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was very nice of her to ask me, and I met Contessa through a lady that is also involved in the show, Fab Bince. So
Fab.
She saw me sing with Zappacosta, with Alfie Zappacosta one night, and so yeah.
So, can you tell us a little bit of what you got planned for the show on September 16th at the Northern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium? Tickets at Ticketmaster. Oh, he's got to promote.
Yeah.
What do you got lined up for us?
Well, I have a wonderful band of musicians. I have Martin Kloppers on cello, and Martin has a beautiful cello that he built that is stunning, and it's like a sculpture. So
you said it took him 8 years?
It took him 7 years to build this. Yeah. And it's very ethereal, so it works really, really well with the music. So I have him on cello. I have Andrew Glover, who is just, of course, Edmonton's premier piano player, a genius. I've asked him to play piano. And I have Gord Oakes, who is another spiritual community guy on the percussion and drums, and I've also asked Belle Hodge, who is another singer, to come out with me. So I'm actually just looking for a whirling dervish. I would love to have a whirling dervish. Would you like to come out and whirl?
I can whirl. I can. I've never said no to anything.
Okay.
That's kind of the story of my career. That's how I ended up on internet television, because sure, I can do that. I'll do anything. I was going to say maybe.
Have you whirl.
Okay, I'll be happy. It'll be looking like a cameo appearance.
For sure.
So Contessa, you got to put me on the program now for.
Yes.
It'll be my debut whirling.
Yes.
Michael Kryton whirls at Northern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium, backing up Anna Beaumont. It'll be my career highlight. I'll never. So now after September, what's your schedule like? Because you're always moving around and doing quite a bit of work. So what are your plans now going into fall in terms of your music, and any tours lined up?
No tours lined up. Mostly doing the workshops and teaching the voice connection, and there are gigs that will sort of go along with that. It's nice now because I can put these gigs together with workshops. Yeah, so I'll be going out to the coast and doing another couple of gigs out there. And actually next year, it's interesting, I'm going to be doing something called The Titanic.
The Titanic.
I know, it's the musical called The Titanic at the Windspear, and I'm one of the guest soloists doing that.
Fabulous.
I know, it's going to be really exciting to do that. And then I'm heading out to the coast and doing 5 shows featuring the Rumi material in Vancouver with a number of other artists, and it's called Heaven on Earth. It's going to be a beautiful experience, and but the workshops and the gigs together is a really nice thing that I've been working a long time to be able to put together.
Maybe getting back to poetry a little bit, I find it very interesting of late because I've been connecting with other artists, a couple in Ontario and so on, and even here people have been talking to me about doing things like, not me specifically, but doing more kind of poetry readings. And I have to admit, I'm not immersed in poetry. I can't claim a lot of expertise there, although I used to read poetry and I used to write at one point.
Oh, okay.
But I really haven't been that connected with poetry. Is there a growing, in terms of what you're doing, are you seeing a growing momentum in terms of people engaging now with poetry? I think maybe poetry with music especially is why maybe it's working.
Yes, especially in the community that I hang out in the spiritual community, if you will, in the inspirational world. I mix it with my singing, and I actually read some as well, and I know that a lot of people do, but people use Rumi. He's kind of a staple in that world. But yes, a lot of people do that. Yeah.
So I'm going to put you on the spot just like they did at the press conference.
Oh my heavens!
Because you have to hear Anna Beaumont.
Because I was silent. I was silent when
you were silent, and I think it's I don't know if radio stations are going to pick it up. It's kind of silent,
yeah,
but it's you know,
interesting.
yes.
Hey? But it has a higher vibration.
We're going to make good. We're going to make good because when we post the show, just so when it's on demand, which imagine we're on demand now, and magically the song actually played, so we missed it live, which we're not live anymore because in post we're in the past. I think I figured that it's kind of an eclectic thing. So what
parallel universes,
yes,
etc.
Yeah.
You just blew my mind.
So may I ask you to sing just a couple of lines or whatever, just something a cappella that perhaps speaks to completing the circle, maybe something that connects to that feeling, that thinking, or anything you want.
Yeah.
Oh, Canada.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Oh, Canada. I think for me, completing the circle, I love the title, Completing the Circle. And I have a passion of women's voices, as you know, as I have spoken about. But I also have a passion for children. And because we all have this child inside of us that we give up as we get older. And I will be singing the song "God Bless the Child" at the Jube, and so it is something that is near and dear to my heart because of the message of Mama may have, but Papa may have, but God bless the child. That's got his own. It's got his own. So here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I will do this.
Anna Beaumont.
Them that's got shall get, them that's not shall lose. So the Bible says, and it still is news. Mama may have, and Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
When you're developing, I mean, I suppose it's a question that every artist gets asked a million times. I try to think where, for me, for example, if I'm working on music, where does it start? Where does a song start? Is there something for you? Is there a specific thing that drives it? Is it a little bit of everything? What sort of compels or drives your creative process in music?
Such a wonderful question. The last round of one of my teaching classes, I taught songwriting to these ladies that had never ever written songs, and they looked at me like I was absolutely crazy. And so I got to learn a lot through them about this question about what actually triggers that creative process. Mm-hmm. But for me, the song is always teaching me something that I don't know yet. It's an interesting process for me, and I'm writing a song right now. Actually, I was up until 2 o'clock in the morning, and I couldn't get this song. I had to finish it. So anyway, I'm very excited about this song. And it's my teacher. So it comes from this part of me that is, let's say, my higher self, the part that knows better than me. And I feel like these songs are always trying to teach me a new way of being. And the chorus of this song is like, if we only knew how beautiful we are, maybe we wouldn't wait to unfold the present, waiting here in our hearts.
Wow. And
so it's really about, well, you get it, but it's about the present that is always here. And I feel like this is sort of some sort of realm that songwriters, I think, access. And I think this is the creative process, and it is my teacher. I don't profess to say I know where that comes from, or I just sort of wait for the right thing to drop in.
It's almost like completing the circle, defined as the artist engaging in the art, and then the art engaging in the artist.
Nicely said. Yes. Yeah.
Well, if I may share that, I think my son Brock, who's a very spiritual young man, he actually graduated from McEwen University as you did in art and design.
Wow.
And he was working with an autistic child and with photography. And he was talking to the mother. We were having a meeting, and he said one thing that, in a way, is analogous to what you said, where he said to her, "I don't mentor Ben." He says, Ben mentors me because he gives me a new way of seeing life. Mm-hmm. And in a way, what you're saying is that your art comes back and helps you see things that you may not have seen before, or see something even greater. It's a wonderful one. It's wonderfully defined. I mean, I think it is difficult for many artists to say, what is it that drives the process? A lot of people, it could be just, I'm in the shower and suddenly I hear a melody in my, or for me, it could be playing on the keyboard. But I love it. I'm looking so forward to seeing you at the concert. I want to thank you so much, Anna, for joining us on the show. For doing everything you can to support Completing the Circle, which is very well worthwhile. And just one more plug, and on demand, you will have heard it from this album, The Doorway, Anna Beaumont, and it is available certainly through her website, as well as
Indiepool.com.
Indiepool.com. Well, that pretty much wraps up the show. I just want to repeat, Completing the Circle is going to be happening on September 16th at the Northern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium. The headliners, well, they're all headliners. We have Anna Beaumont, Sawyer Brown, Crystals de Santos, and also Red Nation will be performing. It is benefiting the Christmas Bureau, the Food Bank. I'm doing this all by memory. I can't believe it. The Christmas Bureau, the Food Bank, iHuman, and Butterfly Transitions. The executive producer, who was also my guest, I'd like to thank her for joining us today, Contessa Abbott from OnBeat, who is producing the show as well at the Jubilee. We're going to finish the program with a special presentation that tells you a little bit more about the story of Completing the Circle. Thank you for joining us on Kryton Live on Fuse Logic TV. Thanks again, Anna. I'm Michael Kryton, and we'll see you at the concert.
Mother riding on a city bus, kids are yelling, kicking up a fuss. Everybody's staring, not knowing what she's going through. Somebody said, don't you even care? Do you let them do that everywhere? She slowly turned around, looked up and stared. She said, please forgive them, but they've been up all night. Their father struggled, but he finally lost his fight. He went to heaven in the middle of the night. So please forgive my Everybody's busy with their own situation. Everybody's lost in their own little world. Bottled up, hurried up, trying to make a dream come true. They don't understand. Everybody's living like there ain't no tomorrow. Maybe we should stop and take a little time, 'cause you never really know what your neighbor's going through. They don't understand. A man driving on the interstate, slowing down traffic, making everybody wait. And everybody's staring, not knowing what he's going through. Somebody honked from the passing lane, yelled out the window, I ain't got all day. The old man looked around and he caught his eye. He said, please forgive me, you know it's been a long life. My wife has passed away and my kids don't have the time. I've been left all alone and it's getting hard to drive. So please forgive me, children. They don't understand. Everybody's busy with their own situation. Everybody's lost in their own little world. Bottled up, hurried up, try to make a dream come true. They don't understand. Everybody's living like there ain't no tomorrow. Maybe we should stop and take a little time, 'cause you never really know what your neighbor's going through. They don't understand. A man hanging on a wooden cross, giving everything to save the lost. Everybody staring, not knowing what he's going through. Somebody said you don't have a prayer. If you're a king, come on down from there.